Rowan's Bedtime by William Robert Gurney. For Matthew, Dylan, Rowan and Cora. Rowan had eaten his last slice of cucumber and decided he'd had enough to eat for tea. His tummy was full and he now wanted to play in the big boy's bedroom for a bit whilst his dad cleared the kitchen, swept the floor and put the dishwasher on. "Can I get down, please?" asked Rowan. "Of course you can," said Dad, safely lifting Rowan from his high chair onto the floor. Rowan crossed the kitchen floor, climbed the step into the hall, and turned the corner into an even longer corridor. He could hear his big brothers Matthew and Dylan playing nicely together in one of the rooms. "Where are you, big brothers?" called Rowan as he searched both the snug and the living room. "Where are you, big brothers?" called Rowan once more as he began climbing the stairs to the bedrooms above. As Rowan got to the landing and climbed one more step into Matthew and Dylan's bedroom, he could see his big brothers playing nicely in between their bunk beds. They were playing with cars on a track which had a launcher that made the cars zoom along the track at high speeds towards the finishing line. At the end, little flags popped up when the first car crossed the line. There was a huge box of cars for Rowan to choose from. It was very exciting indeed trying to work out the fastest car. He could choose cars with different colours. He could choose cars that looked fast. He could even choose cars that had bright stickers on. Rowan liked this game because he could really be one of the big boys. Rowan was very good at this game. Sometimes Rowan would win by crossing the line first. Sometimes his brothers would win. He didn't have to win every time, which was good, as Matthew and Dylan sometimes liked to see their car take first place. Rowan was especially good at sharing and taking turns. Both Matthew and Dylan had taught Rowan to be patient because Rowan would sometimes forget the correct order for playing and occasionally push in. But his big brothers were always there to explain how things worked and how things should be done. Rowan and the big boys played for almost 20 minutes. Dad was even playing, which meant that Rowan had now to wait 3 goes until he was able to place his car on the track and see it go really fast towards the checkered flags. "The bath will be ready in 5 minutes' time," called Mum from the end of the hallway. "Oh," said the boys in unison. "Guys, you've been playing really well together," said Dad. "You've got time to have 2 more goes each," said Dad clearly. "4 more goes?" asked Dylan. "How about 3 more goes each? That's a compromise," offered Dad, smiling at the boys. Being content with the arrangement, the boys worked their way through each of their turns and once finished, got up quietly to have their bath. Bath time had come at last. To get to the bathroom involved a short walk along a corridor, which they always ran down, turning left at the end, down another corridor, and finally down some steps into the bathroom. The boys liked running down the long corridor to see how fast they could go. They were super speedy. "I'm a pterodactyl," shouted Rowan. "And we are fierce Tyrannosaurus Rexes," called back the big boys as they followed Rowan into the nice warm bathroom. Mum had let the tap run longer than usual whilst she and baby Cora were changing her nappy. As a result, the bath was filled really deep, which the boys liked because they could submerge themselves in the warm water. "Can I get in first?" asked Rowan. "I want to get in first," said Dylan. Tonight Matthew didn't seem too bothered who went in first, so took his clothes off calmly whilst Dad helped Rowan with his. "In you go, Rowan," said Dad, after testing the temperature of the water with his elbow. Rowan and Dylan got in at the same time, followed by Matthew. Tonight, Matthew was at the deep end, Rowan in the middle and Dylan at the other end. Rowan liked being in the middle with his big brothers either side of him. The boys had many bath toys to play with. They were a mishmash of toys, empty bottles, themed characters, lids and pouring utensils from when Matthew and Dylan were babies. Rowan liked the watering can the most. He liked filling the can up and pouring it into the boat, filling the boat up until it sank in the water. He also liked pouring water on the top of the bath and liked watching the water trickle down the side back into the deep water. Sometimes he would misjudge his aim a little and pour water out onto the floor of the bathroom. This seemed to really annoy his dad. Rowan played happily in water. He had a toy which was like a miniature water slide. He had to place a disc at the top of the floating tower and turn a lever which tipped the disc over left or right. On the left side there was a red slide which was much faster than the right side. The right side was blue and twisted around to the bottom. Both slides reached the water level and the disc splashed into the water. Rowan liked watching the disc float off. Using his watering can, Rowan would tip water over the tower, which made whatever he placed at the top zip down the slide much faster. Rowan would repeat this over and over again until he found another thing to play with. He liked filling his little white bottle up to the top and seeing the water pour out into the bath water. He liked to see the bubbles it generated when he poured the water from a great height. "Okay, Rowan," called Dad. "You've got 2 minutes left." "Oh," exclaimed Rowan sorrowfully. 4 minutes?" asked Rowan. 3 minutes, and that's a compromise, offered Dad, smiling at all the boys. "Okay," said the boys together as they continued their bath. All the boys continued to play nicely. There was the occasional drop of water in someone's eye, which seems to cause irritation, but on the whole, Matthew, Dylan and Rowan played happily, sharing each other's toys. Sometimes Mum or Dad had to step in to remind the boys that being fair by sharing toys equally amongst themselves is always best. Only sometimes did the boys forget this and snatch, but this was rare and only really happened when they were overtired. "Okay, boys, who's getting out first?" asked Dad. "Me," chimed the big boys at the same time. Dad helped the big boys out first. He quickly wrapped towels around them so they would remain warm. Once the first brother was out and had dried off on the bath mat, the other brother was taken out to dry off. Their pyjamas were slung over the radiator on the other side of the bathroom. They each shuffled over, complaining of the cold, and only when completely dry, and as fast as they could, they would get their pyjamas on. Matthew favoured the football-themed ones, and Dylan had reverted back to a onesie style with buttons. "Okay, Rowan, time to pull the plug out now," as Dad reached down into the misty bath water. Rowan liked to stay in the bath until all the water had gone down the plug hole. He liked to spread out in the bath now the big boys were out. The plug hole made a loud gurgling sound. This always put a smile on Rowan's face as the noise sounded funny to him. By this time the big boys had got dressed by themselves and were downstairs with Mum cleaning their teeth. "Okay, out you come, time to get out," instructed Dad, putting out his arms so Rowan knew when to reach up. Putting up his arms and reaching up towards Dad, Rowan was pulled out of the bath and wrapped in his white towel. He was now snugly and warm. "Is it a mummy story?" asked Rowan as he crouched in a ball trying to keep warm. "It's not tonight, no. It's a daddy story," said Dad enthusiastically. "Oh, I want a mummy story," said Rowan, annoyed. "But you had a mummy story last night," said Dad, reminding Rowan that it was fair that the big boys had their turn with their mum. "Shall we read the new book we got from the library?" asked Dad. "Yay!" said Rowan as he stood up. "Shall we get you dressed then?" asked Dad. Dad carefully checked if Rowan was dry. He was. With the help of his dad, Rowan put his pull-up on, then his vest on, and then his onesie. This was Rowan's favourite part of bath time, as each time his dad popped a button, he had to say, "Pop, squeeze," giving Rowan a cuddle each time. When the last popper came, he got the quietest pop and the biggest squeeze. This meant it was the end of bath time and the start of story time. "Say night-night," said Dad to Rowan, popping their heads into the boys' bedroom at the end of the corridor. "Night-night, brothers," said Rowan to his big brothers. "Night-night," said Matthew and Dylan respectfully. Dad took Rowan to his own bedroom. The night light was lowered enough to be able to read a story and for Rowan to see the pictures. Tonight, the story was about a little dog called Kipper and his friend Arnold. Each page had a letter of the alphabet and a little story to go with it. When Rowan got to the letter R, he always said, "R for Rowan." "Very clever," said Dad to Rowan. Rowan always liked 3 stories at bedtime, and then, once tucked up in bed, his dad sang 10 green bottles until Rowan closed his eyes. "Night, night, Rowan," said Dad, kissing Rowan on the head. The end.